What's cracking? It's your boy Trade Gear back with another tutorial. This one was going to be the drill tutorial, but it's actually going to be a basic trap beat that I'm making. And that's basically because a couple of people have inboxed me saying they'd like some tips on how you mix your drums as you go along. So that's what I'm going to do this time. Stay tuned for the next one if this is stuff that you already know and you want to get onto this drill stuff. Tempo's 155. I've got some drum sounds loaded up. Let's get it cracking. Okay, so straight away I've just right-clicked the hi-hat, filled it each 2 steps. I'm going to give that a listen. Mad boring. So what I'm going to do is Control-Shift on the keyboard, select every other hi-hat. Hold Alt on the keyboard, mouse wheel down, and just drop these velocities. Instantly more interesting. What I'm going to do as well is turn a couple of these into hi-hat rolls. I'm going to just drag this out. Go back to the snap tool, 3rd step, Control U on the keyboard, and that chops it automatically. All of these velocities are the same, but I'm just going to make an uphill slope so they build. At the end of the bar, I'm just going to switch this to a little triplet. Yeah. Perfect. Okay, I'm going to throw some kicks and snares in there. And some rim shots. Yeah, so that's cool. I'm going to clone this as well and just do something a bit different with the hi-hat. Okay, so with the hi-hats on the 2nd pattern, I'm just going to drop the pitch for these hi-hat rolls. I'm going to select both of those, go back to a 3rd step on the snap tool, Control U on the keyboard, and we got some hi-hat rolls. And then on this control tool, just on the bottom left, it's set to control the velocity. I'm going to switch it to pan, and then these ones are going to throw to the left headphone or left speaker, and these ones to the right. So we've got, yeah, sick. There's another little thing I'm going to do, and that is shorten the kick a little bit on this in and out in the sample window, because it's not really hitting like I want it to. And now I'm going to clone this kick, and on the 2nd one I'm just going to reduce the volume a little bit and shorten it even more actually. So it's almost the same kick, but it's not quite as powerful. It's a little bit shorter, it's a little bit more quiet. And when I throw in some extra kicks with this 2nd kick, you're going to hear the effect that it gives. Okay, so that'll do. We've got a basic drum loop. So what I'm going to do is just go into the mixer. I'm going to throw on some plugins on these drums and then come back and let you know what we've got going on. Alright, so basically with the kick drum, I've thrown on a transient processor, added some attack, taken off some tail, making it more snappy. We've EQ'd a couple of annoying frequencies out of it, boosted it at 60 for that punch. I've added some tape saturation. You can add any sort of distortion or saturation, to be honest. And a soft clipper, which is almost like saturation as well. It gives the effect that the kick's hitting louder than it is, but without clipping and going into the red onto the hi-hat. Okay, so basically I've just thrown on a transient, taken off some attack to give it that washed out feel. I don't want them too up in your grill. And then I've just taken out some of the lows and boosted some nice frequencies up top as well onto the snare. Boom. Okay, so with the snare, I've basically added some transient processing again, more attack, less tail to make that snap more. And then I've taken out some of the low lows. I've boosted it around 200 and I've just boosted it up top a little as well. So drums all together. Okay, so we've got some basic drums going round. What I'm going to do now is just load up the E-piano and get cracking with some chords. Yeah, that's cool. Okay, so I've just taken some of the lows out of that E-piano, boosted some of the highs, and let's get some 808s cracking. Yeah, so with this kick and 808, they're both occupying the same low frequencies. Sometimes I would use a fruity limiter and just kind of sidechain it completely so it just ducks out. What I'm going to do this time, just so it doesn't give that pumping effect, is whenever the kick hits, the low frequencies duck out of the 808, but not the whole thing completely. So I've set up a Fruity Peak controller in the kick drum channel. I've then gone back over to the 808, opened up an EQ. If you look at the kick drum in a parametric EQ, it is kind of hitting at 60-ish. So I've put number 2 at 60-ish, and that's the pink one. So I'm going to go to the pink one over here, right click, link to controller. We're looking for where it peaks in the insert 1. So if I would have named insert 1 in the mixer as kick, like I should have done, that would have kick written here instead of insert 1. Peak, and I want it to invert. So whenever it hits, I want this one to disappear. We can adjust how much it disappears with numbers. I've seen some people use 0.75. Some people just leave it at 1. I'm going to go 0.5. You can see how that affects the curve there as well. Okay, I don't want it to duck out that much, so I'm going to adjust the volume. Okay, and with the 808 as well, you'll probably notice that the higher notes kind of come through louder. So what I usually do is just bring up a limiter and just play the 808. You can see some are hitting louder than others. I'm going to boost the gain just a little, so it all comes through louder. And then just bring the ceiling down. So it's almost sitting on top of the quieter ones. And you can see when these loud ones hit, it kind of brings a bit of volume off it. And it just kind of makes it sound more even across the board. Okay, so I added a bit of tape saturation to the 808 as well, just like we did on the kick. You can use any sort of saturation, any sort of distortion or whatever. I find with adding distortion to bass, it helps it come through on phone speakers. You've probably had it where you've made some banging bass on the computer and you're listening to it on your big speakers and you're like, this is sick. And then you play it on someone's phone and the bass is gone. Or you play it on a laptop and the bass is gone. If you add saturation to an 808, kind of brings through the upper harmonics and it will just come through nicer on smaller devices. I'd probably add a lead to this, maybe an arpeggio or something like that, and just call it a day for this basic one. I'd definitely put the kick drum in mono, just by moving this up to 100% merged, and the same with the 808, because again, when you're playing this on big speakers, it's just gonna bang harder. Okay, so basically what I've just done there is create a reverb send by just adding reverb to a completely separate channel. And I've routed all of the drums to that reverb send, but in different amounts. It just saves using 4 or 5 different reverbs, saves some CPU, and it kind of sounds like the drums are all recorded in the same room, which is cool as well. Let me just play the beat. Just added some delay and reverb on the keys. Like I said, I'd put a lead and some arpeggios in that if I had time. Obviously you want some risers, some effects, some little vocal chops, anything else. That's just the basic beat and some basic tips if you're a beginner when it comes to mixing your drums as you go along. Big up everyone who's locked in. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. The next video is going to be the drill one, so stay locked.